Hello guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this video I want us to discuss about some of the basic plots that you can draw on R. And so let's get started. So what is data visualization and how is it important to data science and machine learning? So data science is data visualization is a graphical representation of data. And what is how important is it? So data visualization is we want to visualize the numbers, because when you're just given raw data in form of numbers, it's not easy to, you can't see any pattern, or you cannot recognize any trend that is occurring in that data set. But once you visualize it, you're able to see trends and to recognize some patterns, and to also see if there are any outliers. So that's how important visualization is. So in this we're going to be looking at how to plot some basic plots, just histograms, pie charts, bar charts, box plots, and scatter plots. And there are very many other better ways of plotting in R, like using the ggplot and the plotly libraries, but we shall be covering all those in the subsequent videos. So let's get started. So make sure you open your R session, and once you've opened your R, just come and create a new R script, and then you can just give it any name that you want. Then I'm going to call it basic plots. So I'm going to be using the datasets library, so you can just load it. I'm going to be using the datasets library, load that, and then I want the empty cars data, then you can load it. So you can just look at the summary statistics of the empty cars, and then you can also view it so that you can see what we're dealing with. So this is the empty cars dataset. This is how it looks like. The type of cars that are available here. We have the miles per gallon, the number of cylinders, the displacement, horsepower, the weight, and the number of gears, and many other variables. So another important thing that we can do, let us just attach the empty cars so that it can be available in the search path, that you don't have to be typing the whole thing. So we can get started with the histograms. Can get started with plotting the histograms. So histograms are mainly used to plot the frequencies of a given data set. Like in this case, we're going to use the empty cars data set. So we can, let's say, plot the number of cylinders so that we see the number of cylinders that are available in their frequencies. So you can just type cylinders. We can add the title. We can call it the number of cylinders. You and then you can give the X lab. You can just call it cylinders. You can just say number cylinders, and then you can also give the Y lab. You can just call it count. It gives the frequencies and so on. So when you run that, you're going to see this. So if you zoom on this, you're going to see that in the empty cars dataset, cylinders, we have 4 cars with 4 cylinders, 6 cylinders, and 8 cylinders. So as you can see, the cars with 8 cylinders, there are many cars with 8 cylinders, followed by by 4, and then finally the 6. So to confirm that, you can maybe use the table package so that we can know that our plot is correct. And just say cylinders, and from here you can see that cars with 8 cylinders are 14. That's why it is at the 14 mark. That means there are 14 cars with 8 cylinders, and then and the cars with 4 cylinders. Cars with 4 cylinders are 11. And as you can see, they're in the 11 mark. And then cars with 6 cylinders and the 7 mark. So that's how we plot the histogram. Histogram is used to plot the cylinders. And if you want to maybe export this plot externally so that it can be plotted somewhere else, you can just do this. You just use the png function, and then you specify the file name. You can maybe call it plot.png, and then after calling that, you can now call this. So you just come and copy it. So this one is not going to be plotted on there. It's not going to be plotted here. It's going to be exported. And then finally, you're going to do dev.off to close that. And then you have finally exported your plot. So when you come to your files, look for plot 1, not plot 1 but plot. You should see it somewhere. There it is. And then you open it. Once you open it, you should see your histogram plotted externally. So there is a histogram. So that's how you plot your plot if you want to export them externally. Another plot that you can look at is the pie charts. Pie charts. Now, pie charts are normally used to show certain proportion of data. So, if you have percentages of grades of a particular students, you can represent them in a pie chart because they normally take the proportions of the total data set. So we can maybe take an example of x. You can just assign x, then you can give it values like 10, 40 and 40. I'm assuming those are just percentages. And then our labels, they should have labels. You can just the labels, you can just use the same, like 10% or something like that, 40%, and finally 40%. So going to be our labels. So to plot the pie, you're going to use pie. You're going to say x and then labels equals to labels. Sorry, equals to labels. And then we can maybe specify the radius. Maybe you want a radius of 1. So you can do that. And there you have your plot. So if you zoom on it, this is our pie chart representing different proportions: 10%, 40%, and 40, and the 40%. So what if you wanted to maybe use a legend? You want to include a legend in your plot. So what can you do? So let us just look with this one. You can maybe add a main. Then you can say pie chart. You can just say maybe percentage composition, something like that. And then you can maybe modify the colors to include the colors that you want it to have. You can say maybe gray, blue, and maybe white. And then another thing that you can include, just plot that, and then let's include a legend. In our legend, we are going to put it maybe at the top left, and then we include the labels, and then we are going to fill that with these colors. I'm going to fill that with these colors. That's what you want our legend to be. I'm going to fill that with those colors, and there you have it. So you have your plot here, and you can see this is our legend. So 10% is this part, 40%. Yeah. So, or maybe you want to you want your labels to be maybe can maybe say this is like D, C, and C. Then you can zoom on that, so you can see that this blue represents C, this gray represents D, and finally that represents there's another plot that we can have. We can do the bar plots. We can do the bar charts. Bar chart. We can do the bar charts. The bar charts. So bar charts. Let's define an X. Then we can say 1, 1, 1. It's just a random that I'm picking. 4, 4. So bar chart I used to also plot the frequencies of the data. So we can do a bar plot X. Then we can maybe do the main, which is going to be the title. Can call it bar plot 1. Bar plot 1. Then let's see how it looks like. This is how it looks like. So we have 1, 1, 1. Of course, they have a frequency of 1. And then this is going to be 3, 3. Of course, these are considering them to be as frequencies. So 1, 1, 1 up to 4. Yeah, and then, so what if we wanted to add some names here? That is, these X to be their names. We can just do that using the names.arg, and then we can create a vector here, and then we're going to replicate 1 3 times because there are 3 ones, and then 3. Then we're going to also replicate 4. We're going to replicate 4 twice, and then we can also give the names. We can call the X label to be maybe our data, and then we can say maybe the Y lab to be the frequencies. Okay, let's plot that and see what happens. Okay. What's happening here? So as you can see, we have given our X labs and Y labs. So X lab is supposed to be that. Yeah. And then we zoom into that. As you can see, this is going to be 1, 1, 1, 3, 3, 4, 4. And we have a good title there. So that's a bar chart. And another basic plot that you can do in R is using a box plot. You can use a box plot. Now these box plot are mainly used to plot data summaries, like the mean, the minimum value, the maximum, the median, and so on. So let's say for example in the empty cars, you can maybe plot a box plot of the displacement, and then we subset it by this number of cylinders. So how do we do that? We just come to do box plot, then we say this the displacement, then we're going to do that by cylinders, and then we include the data. The data is going to be empty cars. Okay, this is supposed to be this, yeah, supposed to be like that, so that we have so we can see that from here cars with 8 cylinders have the highest maximum displacement, and cars with 4 cylinders have the lowest displacement. Now as you're looking, this is a box plot, this is the maximum value, this the lower whisker is the minimum value, this is the first quartile or Q1, this is the third quartile or Q3, and this is the median value. Now any value that's going to be out of the maximum value or the minimum value that is in this part of this part, they're considered to be outliers. Like this is an outlier. So another important feature of box plot is used to identify outliers in a given data set. So you can also look at maybe the displacement with maybe the number of gears. So you can just copy paste this, then you do displacement, and then you change that to gear, then you look at this, and then you can say that cars with 3 gears have the maximum displacement, and cars with 4 gears have the lowest displacement. Yeah, so that's how you interpret basic plots, the box plots. So another plot that you can look at is the scatter plots. Scatter plots, of course, scatter plots are used to show the relationship between two variables. So I can maybe let me just define. Okay, we can just maybe try to plot. Let's try plotting. You can plot displacement with maybe the horsepower to see what a scatter plot looks like. Displacement and the horsepower. And you can give it a title, displacement versus horsepower. Let's see how it looks like. Now this is an example of a scatter plot. This is an example of a scatter plot. It is showing the relationship between displacement and horsepower. As you can see, it's another thing that you can maybe do in the with this plot function. You can either add an you can add let's try it. You can add some lines. Maybe say this. Let's see how this is gonna look like. Wow, okay. This is not gonna work out. Let's create a new data, like so that I can show you what I'm trying to say here, and just give it like numbers 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, 5, 6, and 7. I also create a Y, and then we have maybe 10, 27, 30, 45, maybe 50, 60, 70. And then we can plot x, y. The define length. Oh, sorry, it's supposed to be a comma. And this is x and y. This is our x and y. What if you wanted to add some line plots? So you can just do lines x, y. So it's supposed to be lines, and you have that. So this is our basic plot, and this is our basic line chart. So guys, this is some of the basic plots that you can do with R. There are more complicated plots that we're going to learn in the coming videos, like using the ggplot package, the plotly package, and we'll use a vast majority of a very lot of these packages. So welcome to my channel if you're new, and remember to like, subscribe, and share. And so guys, see you in the next video. Thank you.